Hello. I am still trying to get this new software, or get the hang of using this new software. That wasn't quite as smooth as I would like for it to have been, but hey, it's a process. Today I am going to be discussing the PA primary that's going on right now. If I'm talking to people who have, excuse me, let me pull this up here. Sorry, I am still messing around with my screens and everything. Okay. All right. So, yeah, I'm talking today about Kathy Barnette versus Dr. Oz. I'll try to turn my chat on here, see how that works. And folks, just give me another moment here, because there's a couple of things I need to try to set up. I want to add some a tag at least to this video. Just bear with me. Like I said, new technology, but I do not know how to do this yet. Anything else I can? No. Okay. Sorry about this. Yeah, I can't. I kind of okay, so it should the live chat should be on. Anyone can send messages. That should all be okay. Just another minute here. I could really use help from another person to make sure all this works. Oh well. All right. All right. Good morning, Ralph, and good morning, SB. Oh, thank me know that the picture and the audio is. All right, let's see. Can I see you guys in my YouTube as well? Sorry, I'm still messing with this setup. Okay. Good morning, Dave Simmons. Good morning to you all. All right, I am going to. There we go. Let's start talking about Kathy Barnette. Something really crazy has been going on, to the point where people, like a lot of big right-wing main people, have been going after Kathy Barnette in favor of Dr. Oz. Now, Kathy was definitely MAGA from day one. She was even at the January 6th protest, because that's how passionately she felt or feels about the Trump movement. And then Dr. Oz is just this long-time liberal who has a lot of values that don't line up with the Republican Party or conservative values. And President Trump has chosen to endorse Dr. Oz over Kathy Barnette. And just, I don't know, that's kind of perturbing. And I really hate criticizing President Trump, because he's just somebody who's just constantly attacked. And I spent so much time having to defend him and having to debunk things. You know what? He's a human just like everybody else, and humans make mistakes. And I bet he has made a big mistake in supporting World Economic Forum loving Dr. Oz over Kathy Barnette. So I found a video that I'd like to play really quick. It's basically just a story about her life, and I think that it is really moving, and it is powerful. Okay, and I see right now in the stream, though, before I play this, I see some of you like Brian. All right, you like Kathy. Ralph is concerned that she has no previous history that tells you she's a spook for the CIA. Ralph, later I'm going to show, I guess, her military records. Good morning, good morning, good morning. But hey, you know what? Everybody's allowed to have their own opinion. But check this story out. I think this is really, really moving.
Very rural, one-stop sign town called Nichburg to go to college. I was in the Army Reserves. I had to go get my birth certificate, mainly because the name was different. The name I had always grown up with was Nelson, but then come to find out there was something completely different on my birth certificate. Clearly, I could have done the math and realized just how young my mother was when she birthed to me, but it was never something that truly resonated with me until I looked at my birth certificate for the very first time and just kind of studied it. Her gender, they called her a Negro girl, and that was the first thing I saw, and it just kind of grabbed my heart. But then I saw her age, and she was 12, and that just really struck a chord in me because I realized just how young my mother was when something had visited upon her. Even to this day, it's a very hard word to say, but my mother was raped, given her young age, at 11, my father being 21.
They was hurt. We was all devastated. But my mother said, you know, you're pregnant, so we're going to get through this. And she helped me get through it. I don't want to use the word choice. She was going to be born. I didn't have a choice to say, you're going to live, I'm going to abort you. That wasn't a choice for me. And I thank God it wasn't a choice for me.
As a child, I knew difference. I was loved, and I felt loved. It gave me a greater appreciation for my mother. It helped me to forgive a lot of the mistakes someone at that age, having gone through such trauma, would have made their own parenting. But it definitely made me become very adamant about the sanctity of life, of all life, regardless of their conception, regardless of how they arrived, that I am valuable, I'm worthy, and my life has purpose. Before the creation of the world, God saw me and he decided that I would be. And he said in his word that not only did I see you, but I called you, I predestined you. And so as a Christian, I believe in the value of life, that when I was in my mother's womb, he was knitting me together, even among Christians, even among staunch.
Yeah, I'm just going to pause this real quick. So I think I have to add commentary to this, but wow, I mean, just even this much so far, this is such a powerful video, especially if you're someone who is pro-life like I am. I did a video the other week talking about just like someone like me, where I kind of have to explain why I'm so light all the time, even though both of my parents are black, and I have to go back and talk about the slave trade and my ancestors being raped, and this is why I look like this. Because if I tell people I'm black, or like, well, don't you have one white parent? Like, no, I don't. But that for me, the whole like rape thing and my genetic makeup, that history, I mean, it's more of a distant thing. To hear someone like her that has it, and it's so it's closer. It makes a much more powerful and compelling story.
Conservatives, an exception to the rule of being pro-life for many is in the case of rape. And yet my life has value. from me has come to very and charming and smart kids, married to a wonderful husband. We've made a life for ourselves, and none of this would have happened if the exception to the rule had applied.
Regardless of how old you are and how the child was conceived, that child deserved a chance. And if I had made that choice, where would I be at right now without my daughter?
The hardest struggle for my mother, the hardest thing for her to overcome, I think, is just effects of the trauma itself. And that is why I think it's so important to help people understand that the trauma has already been inflicted. The child should not be inflicted. That squarely belongs on the one who inflicted the trauma. You have to be able to see the difference. Aborting me would not have eased the trauma that my mother suffered. Aborting me would not have allowed me to be in a place today where I can now take care of my mother.
It's just amazing to grow up. Regardless of how my life started out, I'm blessed.
I'm not left with bitterness. I'm left with overwhelming sense of gratitude. That not only did God see value in my life, but that my family saw value in my life. Grateful for that. Eternally grateful to allow me to be born.
All right, so hopefully that wasn't too distracting there. I'm still messing around with settings. I didn't realize I was moving the screen around, but yes, that is wow, what a powerful video. And yeah, she made another really strong point there, where when people make the exception for, or you say abortion is okay in the case of rape, particularly the very young, that, you know, she wouldn't be there and her children wouldn't be there. And, you know, I guess there's a reason why they say it's a child, not a choice. And yeah, it would be very devastating if we didn't have her and her wonderful family. And like I said earlier, if you go back far enough, everyone here is a product of rape. So this is weird. Sean Hannity, I guess, used to be okay with Kathy here, but he has completely flipped the script on her. And I'm hearing that it is from her, or because of her, well, because he is a friend of Dr. Oz. So let's play this.
Look at your screen. Here is Barnette marching alongside. This just broke today. Radical Proud Boys during January 6th. She claims she had no idea who they were and that she didn't breach the Capitol. And this Twitter point.
So basically, Sean Hannity is attempting to use her attending the January 6th rally in support of President Trump. Like, that's supposed to be a smear, and that Proud Boys were there. That's also supposed to be a smear. I don't understand how you could claim to be, oh, like, I'm so like pro MAGA and I'm down for Trump, but yet some of his biggest supporters are supporting him. You think that's a smear? That's just, like, that's just so insane and out of touch to me. And it reminds me why I hate Fox News. I will never forget, and please don't ever forget, that they were complicit in regards to everything that went down with the 2020 elephant. You know what I'm talking about. They made bad calls, and they're all for banning things, and they're also refusing to talk about Dinesh D'Souza's new movie. Let's just call it 2000s. I have not gotten to see it yet, but I do plan on watching it. So there are a couple of things that prominent people on the right, and Kathy Barnette, she's being attacked from both the right and the left, but there are a couple of things that people on the right are coming after her for. They were attacking her service, saying that she didn't actually serve in the military, so she wound up releasing her, I guess it's a DD 214. I'm not in the military, so I am not really familiar with a lot of these rankings and what these forms mean, but here we go. Yeah, here's her DD-14, entering the military in 1990. So yeah, in this section here, it says the Army also confirmed to break news that Barnette served in the Army National Guard from 93 through 98 and the Army Reserve from 98 until 2000. The Army said any additional records would have to be obtained from the National Archive Records Administration since she had left the Army more than 15 years ago. All right, so she was legitimately in the Army. I mean, usually people just say, thank you for your service, but I guess they wanted her to prove her service, and she did. And here, once again, just to double up on this is a New York Times article, and they are also reporting that, yes, in the 90s, she spent 7 years in the Army National Guard. She earned a degree in finance from Troy State University in Alabama in 1997. Yes, but this is the name of the article. In Pennsylvania, a hard right candidate's star rises. So she was legitimately in the military. And there are a couple other ones here, and things that they talk about her
Senate
for
Republican
doing.
candidates in the Senate race.
She'll address them here.
Now let's bring in the third Pennsylvania Republican Senate candidate, Kathy Barnette. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much for having me.
I want to deal with the breaking news today, if I could, first. And you heard it in Rich's piece. NBC had these photos and video of you marching on the day of the Capitol riot with the Proud Boys. Your campaign put out a statement. The Proud Boys, obviously, some of them being indicted in some of the things that happened at the Capitol. First of all, did you go into the Capitol, and how do you talk about that day?
Well, first of all, allow me to correct you. I was not with the Proud Boys. I was out there because I wanted to hear what the president had to say. I was also out there because I'm sure your listeners will understand the first 5 rights in the First Amendment: freedom of speech, freedom of religion, freedom to petition your government with grievances, and freedom to assemble, as well as freedom to freedom of press. And so as a law-abiding American citizen, I have every right to go to a rally in support of my president. That is what I was doing there. We had a wonderful time. We prayed. We listened to what the president had to say. We hung out. We walked and sang songs, and then we got on our bus and left and came back home. And so that is the beginning and the end. Yeah.
Okay. Well, these tweets just happen to show you next to marching with, not saying that you were with them that day, but the pictures do show you next to them.
I have no idea. I have no idea who these people are that I was walking with, who were outside of my friends and family who joined me. And yet the media is smearing my name and sowing seeds of disinformation in order to suppress my vote and steal this election from me. I worked very hard to be who I am and to be where I am right now.
And once again, I do get upset when people try to use the Proud Boys as if that is some sort of smear. Because let's not forget that the Proud Boys saved Bevelyn Betty when she was stabbed in New York. We have somebody who was there. Oh, Lowe told Storyful that the attackers appeared to target Betty. If it wasn't for 3 boys that were there, she would have been stabbed and brutally beaten had they not saved her from the attack. Now, she was stabbed, but I think they just mean that it would have been much, much worse. So all this, oh, you can't be anywhere near the Proud Boys. Like, don't even say their name. They're so bad. They're so awful. Yeah, it's so awful that, when people are trying to peacefully protest in a place like Portland, where the police won't help you at all if you're on the right, and then you have people like the Proud Boys who come in and will actually protect people when the cops won't do their jobs. And they're like, oh, it's so terrible. It's so terrible that people are defending other people, and that they're not allowing Trump supporters to just be beaten senselessly by Antifa members. It's pretty ridiculous. All right, so let me go back to these other claims.
And just to clarify, you didn't go into the Capitol that day?
I said, I sang, I prayed, I listened to my president and walked, and then got on the bus and came home.
Okay. Let me ask you about this. Liz Cheney tweeting today after the Buffalo shooting, saying the House GOP leadership has enabled white nationalism, white supremacy, anti-Semitism. History has taught us that what begins with words ends in far worse. GOP leaders must renounce and reject these views and those who hold them. Do you agree with Ms. Cheney?
Why would it be GOP? I'm Black. I'm Black. I'm married to a Black man. I'm raising Black babies. Why does she or anyone else think they care more about my Black life or the Black life of my family more than I do? Why would I be associated with anyone who's a white supremacist? Those are all lies. We know that it was Democrats who own the slaves. We know it's Democrats.
And honestly, he should have just been embarrassed to ask that question in the first place. How do you say something like that to a Black person with a straight face? Like, come on. Like, can't we just ignore some things? Aren't some things just so idiotic that we don't even have to address them? I would, oh my goodness, this is so silly.
Democrats who are the party of Jim Crow laws. The values that I found growing up on that pig farm in Southern Alabama, those values that I found them primarily following the tenets of the Republican Party. Like it or don't like it, but those are the values. And it allowed me to crawl my way out of dire poverty and to create a different story for myself. And so those are the values that I espouse, and those are the values that I stand by.
Ms. Barnette, as you know, in that piece, we also played this effort by former President Trump, who you were marching for and praying for on January 6th, has come out with a robocall in Pennsylvania, campaign for somebody you're campaigning against, Mehmet Oz. Here he mentions in that call you a couple of times. Here's another spot.
Kathy Barnette wanted to build a statue to Barack Hussein Obama and attack the father of our country, George Washington. That's no good. Now she changes her tune.
So your response to that?
Yeah. Well, that is unfortunate that the president would say that again. I'm going to chalk it up that he has bad advisors on that one. It is very clear. You can go to my website at barnetteforsenate.com. We actually put out the petition, the actual petition that I put out there. If you remember in 2020, during the summer of 2020, the Emancipation Memorial had gotten into the crosshairs of Black Lives Matter, Antifa, and other radical woke leftists. And they wanted to tear the Emancipation Memorial down. They typically don't understand history and may not have known that it was 700 free slaves who put their money together in order to build that particular memorial.
Yes, I remember how just I wish I could say shocked, but yes, when the extreme leftists were trying to tear down a monument that freed slaves had purchased, it's just so. I don't even know what to say. It's just so clown world. People are just so out there and just, no knowledge of history. It's really quite shocking. I see Black Cat Mom says that, I'm sorry, but this disgusting way she's being treated. This is a disgusting way that she is being treated. Okay, you were okay with Dr. Oz because Trump endorsed him, but not after researching him. All right, I'm red-pilled, so I suspect Dr. Oz will win because of his persona. Well, I certainly hope he does not win. Bo says, lately Fox News looks like an SNL parody of Fox News. Brian says Fox is garbage. Hannity is anti-American. Yes, and we must all watch that movie. We have been fighting for 100% pro-life reps like Kathy for decades. We will not stop now. We will win with her and every pro-life reps. Yep, we wear MAGA and are never going to stop. God bless Kathy. Okay. All right. So let's hear this, the rest of her explanation here, because she has been accused of wanting to build a statue of Obama. Oh, Esprit says you saw the movie. Yeah, everyone needs to see it. I will see it.
Showing Abraham Lincoln standing there with a black man breaking the bonds of memorial had gotten into the crosshairs of Black Lives Matter, Antifa, and other radical woke leftists, and they wanted to tear the Emancipation Memorial down. They typically don't understand history and may not have known that it was 700 free slaves who put their money together in order to build that particular memorial, showing Abraham Lincoln standing there with a black man breaking the bonds of slavery, breaking the chains of slavery. And what I was proposing is these markers are just that. They are markers. They do not tell you what happened before.
So yeah.
They do
so
not
instead
tell
you wanted a statue
after.
to Barack Obama.
No, I wanted a statue of Abraham, of Frederick Douglass, on one side, watching that man rise up out of poverty. And I wanted the black man who was rising up out of slavery to look at the first black president. I did not vote for Obama either term, but Obama's presidency is a historical fact, and it goes to the fact that this nation is not systemically racist.
Well, we appreciate your time. We'll be covering this very closely. We look forward to covering.
All right, so she did not specifically want a statue of Obama. It was a statue with, I think, 3 different figures in it, and Obama was one of the figures. And yes, she said that she didn't vote for Obama, I think, either time. I believe that's what she said. I voted for Obama the first time, but not the second time. I wisened up by then. I can see what she's saying from an artistic standpoint. That, all right, you have Frederick Douglass there, and he's watching a person go from slavery to the office of the president. I mean, it is really an excellent example or illustration of the American dream, no matter how much I personally do not like Obama. I see the artistic value of that, or the meaning that goes along with a statue like that. If so, yeah, it's not my favorite thing in the world. I don't know if I would make that statue myself, but I have no problem with it. I mean, if this is the worst thing that you could find out about her, you'd be in pretty good shape. Unfortunately, though, and because I need to be fair, this is not the worst thing you can find about her. I think the worst things that you're going to find about her are some old tweets that are on the spicy side here. Some are worse than others. Some really, I don't think, are that big of a deal. All right, she has one here. Don't we get it? Obama is a Muslim. Obama has shown his true Muslim colors. This administration is not concerned about our safety. I think when you get into a lot of this kind of thing, you'll see that people are upset about him and the Iran deal, for one, but that was just another money laundering slush fund type deal that they had going on there too. Yeah, and then if you get into, yes, Obama loves all things. He's, I suppose, gay, and he supports all things Muslim, and I think she has some other ones where she talks about pedo stuff and its relationship with Islam, and then that's when you start getting into like bachabazi. And I understand, when you're talking about things like this, though, I think that you have to give the proper context for them, and maybe Twitter isn't the best place to talk about things like that. But yeah, it just took me back to U.S. soldiers told to ignore sexual abuse of boys by Afghan allies. So yeah, here's a quote. At night, we can hear them screaming, but we're not allowed to do anything about it. The Marine's father, Gregory Buckley Sr., recalled his son telling him before he was shot to death at the base in 2012. He urged his son to tell his superiors. My son said that his officers told him to look the other way because it's their culture. Rampant sexual abuse of children has been a problem in Afghanistan, particularly among armed commanders who dominate much of the rural landscape and bully the population. The practice is called bachabazi, literally boy play. And American soldiers and Marines have been instructed not to intervene, in some cases, not even when their Afghan allies have abused boys on military bases, according to interviews and records. So usually when you see people talking about this kind of thing in an extreme way, or let me find another one of her tweets. Yeah, like this one here. This is usually one of the things that they're talking about, or they're talking about Mohammed marrying Aisha when she was, I think, 6, and then consummating the marriage at 9. Sometimes it's it's probably better to try to explain these things in a way like that versus just with tweets. And then I think that, well, yeah, she has one where she doesn't make a distinction between radical Muslims and moderate Muslims, which I think is very unfair. My brother converted to Islam from Christianity. He seems to be very happy with his choice. I think it's really it's a strong sense of community that he is getting from the folks that he is associating with. But, he's not going to be flying any planes into buildings anytime soon. There are most definitely moderate Muslims, and I'm really not cool with like crazy inflammatory language or talking about things like that, and maybe not putting things into the proper context. So I'd say this is probably the worst thing that we have for Kathy Barnette. Now let's compare that with our other option, which would be Dr. Oz. Okay. What does Dr. Oz have to say about things?
We have there.
You bet. On abortion, I know. You did obviously an entire show about this. Obviously, you said that you did shows on views that need to be expressed. So let's move beyond that for a moment. You're now running for U.S. Senate. What about the theory, not the theory, excuse me.
So, and this here is Dr. Oz promoting the whole putting little kids in the wrong clothes and telling them lies stuff here.
The legislation that's actually out there. Do you support the view that there should be a ban on puberty blockers and cross-sex hormones, physical sex change surgeries for children under 18? Where do you stand on that?
My big issue with the whole transgender movement with kids is it's based on false science. I'm going to give you a number that's going to blow your mind, David. 85% of young children who say they're transgender will go back to their biologic sex.
And this is the part in this video here where he's going to try to smooth talk you and make it seem like he is on the conservative side, but just hold on. He's going to reveal his true colors. He's just trying to get votes here. You'll see what he really feels in a moment.
If they're just loved, and let it be. Well, Johnny will walk around in mommy's shoes for a while, and then he'll figure it out and go back to the way he was biologically conceived. And that's an important observation, because the opposite happens when you interfere with the process, endorse, embrace. You get social workers and nurses involved. You start offering medications and more permanent treatments, which I think don't have a role to play in young children, because they can't actually be involved in decisions as much as you may think. The fact that we've censored thought here and not allowed people who have expertise in the area to be heard, in fact, quite the opposite, they get censored and canceled for voicing their opinions, is shameful. It's the same kind of process that occurred when Fauci went after scientists who didn't agree with his mandates. When you mix politics and medicine, you get politics. We cannot hurt our children by doing that again.
Right. Are you for a ban, though, on puberty blockers, or you're saying you want to take a wait-and-see approach?
Well, I would not. I want a doctor to make the decision with the patient, but I am very dubious of giving young.
So yes, all that mumbo jumbo just to say that he is for it. He is pro giving puberty blockers to healthy children, which, by the way, has the potential to sterilize them. He's perfectly happy taking little children who cannot make decisions for themselves and permanently sterilizing them. And he wants to sacrifice America's children on the woke altar. Let me back it up so you can hear it again. It's not that hard to say, no, this is wrong. Do not do this. This is sick. This is abusive. See, wasn't hard to say. Wasn't hard to say.
Well, I would not. I want a doctor to make a decision with the patient, but I'm very dubious of giving young children puberty blockers, surgery, or anything else. I mean, I can't imagine scenarios where that would be welcome, but I don't want to interfere with doctors and parents working together. This is a kind of...
Right. He doesn't want to interfere with doctors working together with sick, woke parents to sterilize their children, to abuse their children, to groom their children. And this is who President Trump endorsed. And as much as it pains me to say, I cannot go with Trump on this one. I'm sorry. The children come first. I have a few more comments here. American Aaron dropped in to say that it's very interesting that the most America First candidate is being attacked by both sides. Sad to see Trump stand against her. Yes, I am very sad to see Trump stand against her in favor of Dr. Kevorkian over here, or Dr. Mangla. Conservatives are preserving history, so I don't see a problem with the statue. You're correct. Yeah, I don't see a problem with the statue either. Oh, hello, Aircraft Sparky just dropped in. Yes, I'm live. I'm learning how to use Restream. I'm still having some issues with it though. All right. Sibo says, what are the options? Well, the options are, I guess, if you're talking about who to vote for, I guess between Dr. Oz and Kathy Barnette, I'm most definitely going with Kathy Barnette because her tweets about Muslims to me are not worse than Dr. Oz pushing, grooming, and destroying children. That's if that's what you meant by that. Have a little more here. I'm not going to play this one because I don't know about the YouTube rules, but this is Dr. Oz pushing the poke onto Wendy Williams repeatedly. But yeah, if you look at the date here, you could look this up and watch this if you wanted to. But it's she's basically like, no, and he's like, well, you really should, and she's like, I don't trust it, and just yeah, that is not what I am all about. Oh, Sibo says, I'm glad I don't live in PA. I wish you did, and then you could go vote in the primary and make sure Dr. Oz doesn't get in. So while Dr. Oz is pushing things that people don't necessarily want to take, this is
We need to walk as free people.
her take.
We need to
things.
remember that the Constitution, that COVID does not trump the U.S. Constitution. Those are some very key lessons that we should have learned coming out of this. We should have also learned what kind of leadership we really need at this moment. We lived through 2 years that felt like literal hell jumped out on top of us, with Democrats putting their foot on our throats, putting their foot on our businesses, their foot on our economy, their foot on our children. We should have learned a very valuable lesson of what kind of leader we need at this moment. We need people who are going to be fighters. We don't need people who are globalists in the way that they have lived their lives and ran their business. And although I think you're a magnanimous individual, but you and your corporation, McCormick, you are a part of the WEF, the World Economic Forum. You, as well as you, Oz, they're both part of the World Economic Forum. This is a very serious organization that has a mindset of pushing globalism and ESG, environmental social governance.
Okay, thank you.
And we need to be mindful
Thank you, Ms. Barnette. 15-second quick response, sir, McCormick, Mr. McCormick.
Well, listen, I've run 2 businesses, wildly successful businesses. I'm not going to apologize for my success. I have done business around the world. It makes me uniquely capable of understanding that we live in. I've served in the military. I've served in combat. So I know how to deal with the challenges we face.
All right.
And like President Trump, that experience is going to make me a better
But
person.
that didn't have anything to do with the World Economic
Thank you.
Forum.
Let's continue on with Mr. Bartos. Let him have a turn to speak.
Okay, I see. All right, Sibo says, all right, you don't like her cushy position with BLM. I don't believe that she has a cushy position with BLM. I do not have any of those tweets pulled up, but I've heard about them. Maybe somebody else in the maybe American Erin, if she's in the chats, she could address this one or help me out on this one. But my understanding was that she was not promoting BLM, but she put some, like, a BLM hashtag in a tweet, but it wasn't promoting it. It was just talking about it. All right. So my next one here. Oh, okay. So I heard that one of the big reasons why President Trump endorsed Dr. Oz was that he was telling the truth about the election. And in this video clip here, I don't think that I can play it, but it's him. It's Dr. Oz being pinned in and asking how he feels about what happened, and he turns into a bit of an election denier. How about we call them that? How about we call them election deniers? Yes, and yeah, when he's asked about, what he believes happened, he says, "Oh, I want to be careful." So we have one candidate who was down there, that's Kathy, who is down there on January 6th, supporting the president, fighting for freedom, and we have the other guy who wants to be careful. Yes, and then I have this clip of Jack Posobiec. I was going to play part of it, and he gives some really good reasons as to why he's not in support of Dr. Oz. I see a couple of more chats came in though. Executive sessions. I'm so tired of BLM using the word black to purposely confuse Black American issues with gender issues. Oh, me too. I'm like, do not put me into that alphabet umbrella. Like, our things are not the same at all. I don't see a handicapped or seniors using blacks to get their messages across. Okay. Yeah, one of my things is that, I do agree with, don't put me in with that. Okay, American Erin comes in. She says, that's correct. She was using the BLM hashtag to show her disagreement with them. The GOP knows this, and and it's easy to disapprove by looking at her. Oh, it's easy to disprove by looking at her tweets. Okay, yes. So, it's really bad when things are coming from all sides like that. We don't need another Mitt Romney. We don't need another Lindsey Graham. We don't need another Rhino. We don't need another Liz Cheney. And this is basically what we're going to have. Dr. Oz just wants power, and we haven't even gotten into him and him voting in Turkish elections and all kinds of stuff. So let me get to this, some clips here from this video.
Things. Maybe he was talking about all these conservative things we just didn't know. And I went through, and what I found in those episodes.
Oh, so Jack Posobiec went ahead and he watched a whole bunch of old clips of Dr. Oz and his show going back to the Oprah days. And so this is his take on it.
Not only was it not conservative values, I didn't know what values they were, right? And I said, look, if you're Dr. Oz, right, why are you coming into a state that you've never been from, that you don't have any real connection with, and running for Senate? You got a beautiful mansion, right, in North Jersey, gorgeous mansion. He's got another mansion in Miami. He's done very well for himself. He's very wealthy, very successful. No question, right? No question. We don't disparage that. Never would, never dreamed of it. But when you look at his TV show, it's liberal. It's liberal and it's woke, right? So red flag laws, that's liberal. Did a whole episode promoting them. Did another episode, because I was trying to say, is there anything where he talked about the issue of abortion? Because for me, as a Christian, pro-life is kind of a litmus test for me. Is this guy pro-life or pro-choice? What's he going to do? Does he support Roe v. Wade or not? And I found a video of him like 1 year before, I guess it's 2019, so a couple years before, talking about Roe v. Wade, saying he was worried that Roe v. Wade might be dropped. And he was attacking conservatives, like the people in Atlanta, for pushing heartbeat bills. And he was claiming that it wasn't a real heartbeat, and so that people shouldn't push those bills. And when I heard him say that, and I could see the anger in his face about heartbeat bills, and he said, that's just electrical charges, right? Like, well, what do you think a heartbeat is, right? What do you think is powering the brain right now?
All right, so he is not pro-life. And I understand that, yes, there are conservatives who are not pro-life, but I'm putting this as another check in the fake conservative. This guy, he wants to be the next Liz Cheney corner. He gets another check.
So I said, look, for me as a Christian, a guy who's that pro Roe v. Wade, and definitively pro Roe v. Wade, I just can't be on board, right? I've never supported a candidate like that in my life, and I can't get on board with a candidate like that now. I'm sorry, I can't do it. Can't do it. It's Then people bring up the World Economic Forum ties. People bring up this stuff about the fact that he had Turkish citizenship. Honestly, that was something that I didn't even. I said, like, people are dual citizens. It's something that happens that because his parents were immigrants, and I got that. But then they said they joined the Turkish military and was attacking other candidates over their military service. It's like, well, dude, you served in the Turkish military, so if you're going to bring up military service, how are we going to talk about that? And then,
yeah, and I'm not a fan of people being dual citizens if they're going to serve as our representatives, because you always have to ask, well, where does your loyalty lie when we're if we are looking at some sort of legislation that might favor Turkey more than America, who's he going to go with? Oh, my dog is in the thing. Get out of here.
And then voting in Turkish elections like a couple of years ago, right? A couple of years ago. So what I'm doing is called vetting, right? It's called vetting. And I've seen that there are people on other TV shows that will have Oz on and yet not ask him about any of this stuff. But probably some of the worst episodes, and there's still more that we're finding. It's like every day. Jussie Smollett. He was helping Jussie Smollett spread a hate hoax against us.
Yeah, so here he is. Once again, you're getting another check mark in the woke category. If you were supporting Jussie Smollett, your decision-making skills, your ability to read people, your ability to make sensible decisions is just it's way off. It's way off. I'm sorry, I cannot trust you. I will not trust you. You were pushing this nonsense. All right, yes. That is like 5 check marks in the woke category as to like, President Trump, why are you doing this, man? Why did you support this guy?
Against Trump supporters, against the MAGA movement. And he was helping this guy. And not only was he helping Jussie Smollett, when the obvious falsehoods of that story came out, people like me, people like Candace Owens, they won. This is fake. This is MAGA country. Come on. No. Subway, 3 a.m. Dave Chappelle was blowing him up. But Dr. Oz helped him. And then even after Dr. Oz helped him to smear all of us, all of you, as lying, as racist, as violent, he attacked all of you. And now I'm supposed to turn around and support this guy? Can't do it. Can't do it. No way. And have you found one video where he apologized for what he did, where he said, oh my gosh, I was totally suckered by this, this actor, and he tricked me. He had nothing to do with, I couldn't figure it out. Haven't seen it. Because nobody will ask him about any of these things. No one will ask him about these statements. No one will ask him about his record. And I've invited him, I said,
okay, so I'm going to jump ahead a little bit more here to 9:40.
Book stuff. He went in and was supporting 7th graders getting transgender surgery in 7th grade.
And that's the fastest way to lose me. Now you've got 100 checks in the woke column.
What is a boy? What is a girl? Is it our genetics? Or is it our thoughts and feelings? Those are his words. Why would you say that, sir? Why would you say? Now, look, I can understand if he says, well, I said that because I believe it, or because that's the ideology I believe. That's the agenda that I'm for. But how do you come around and say, well, I'm a conservative, I'm MAGA, I'm America first, I'm all these things, when that's what you were pushing just a couple of years ago? Some people point out that he might even be one of the pioneers of this by helping normalize this in the United States for kids, 7th grade, getting surgery. Never explained it. Never said one thing about this. And I do see people say, they say, what about Trump, Jack? What about?
All right. So yeah, you will always lose me when you come after the children. If Executive Sessions says, I live in California and these fools are protesting Roe v. Wade, like our local baby killers are not going to allow this, excuse me, like our local baby killers are not going to vote to allow the state to continue the slaughter of unborn children. If American Aaron said, how did they get conservatives to fall for Oz? He's establishment Hollywood, a Dem ? I say absolutely he's the Democrat. There's only one Trump and Oz isn't even close. I agree. And Sibo says, indeed. I have a tweet here. So after the drama, she really did serve 10 years. Well, old tweets sink her. How would that standard apply to other candidates going forward? Well, I think we've all seen all kinds of folks, everyone except me, because I don't really use Twitter. You won't find any old tweets. I probably only have like a handful of tweets that I've ever done there. But yeah, you won't find any old tweets on me because they don't exist. You won't really find any new tweets either. But yeah, I mean, are old tweets versus Dr. Oz and just everything that's wrong with him, like is he really the better candidate? I'm going to say no, and no in a huge way.
4 years ago, and then I invited him. We first met Kathy Barnette about 4 years ago, and then I invited her to Harrisburg to be the keynote speaker at the introduction of my heartbeat bill legislation. That legislation is designed to save baby lives. Your heartbeat, no abortion.
I had nothing to do with the conditions that brought me into existence.
And Kathy's story was intriguing because we had no idea when we invited her to speak that her tale actually was very related to pro-life movement.
And yet there I was, being wonderfully and fearfully woven together in my mother's womb.
We just knew her as a Fox News commentator and an award-winning author, and somebody who really stands for conservative values. And then she shared her heart and how she was conceived in rape when her mom was 11 years old.
I was a human. I was a person. I was not some inanimate object.
And the family got together and said, why should we punish this little one for some bad things that happened? And so they raised a strong person who's going to be the next senator of Pennsylvania.
We are literally standing on pure gold in Pennsylvania. And the fact that this administration has created a hostile environment for us to be able to drill and to invest. Instead, now we're on our hands and knees.
She doesn't play around like the slippery politicians.
Energy allows us to remain sovereign, and it allows us to put a check on bullies.
Remy and I have watched Kathy over the past several years stand for and champion conservative values. So that's why I'm endorsing Kathy Barnette for Senate. She's a fighter, she's tough, she's a veteran, she loves this country here, and she won't be bought off or sold like so many of the folks in DC are.
I am Doug Mastriano, and I endorse this message.
So, yes, she has Doug Mastriano's endorsement. Not everyone has fallen for or fallen under this weird Dr. Oz spell. So I'm pretty much going to wrap this up here. Thank you all for joining me. I just want to leave you with this quote tweet here. Oh, wait, I have one more person came in here. Light Guardian, not convinced candidates that just appear out of thin air like some kind of knight in shining armor fantasy. Anyone remember how Obama just magically appeared? We all know how that worked out. I wouldn't necessarily say that she just appeared out of thin air. She has run for other offices before, and she was a very early MAGA supporter. I'd say the person who appeared out of thin air is actually Dr. Oz, because Dr. Oz is the one with the long-standing history of super left values. But, I did my best, though, here today. To be fair, I did point to things that Kathy did, like her old tweets. I pointed those out. I put them on the screen, and I did say, yeah, these definitely, a lot of them are very, they definitely don't shine the best light on her. But when you look at that versus all things Dr. Oz, I think that she is clearly the better choice between the two of them. One of them has a history of being America first and calling things out. And of course, that's Kathy. And then, yeah, we have a long-standing liberal who has liberal values. I mean, like I said, we don't need more rhinos. And, American Aaron says, we've been telling people to run for local offices, and then when they do, we say that they come out of thin air. We can't have it both ways. I suppose that's true as well. That's a good point, American Aaron. So this is but please tell these folks that this Roe v. Wade is about states' rights, and I stand corrected on Oz, but I don't like Kathy. All right, and you are entitled not to like Kathy. But I would hope, though, that if you were in PA, I know you're not, but if you had to choose between the two of them, I would hope that you went Kathy over Oz. Like I said, the whole thing, the children and the pushing the drugs and the surgeries on the children, that's when you completely lose me. You will never get my vote running off of that. Same thing too with being pro-choice versus pro-life. You'll lose my vote with that as well. You'll lose my vote with pushing Jussie Smollett. You'll lose my vote with pushing mandatory medications. All right, you're not a fan of Dr. Oz either. As I know you're never going to have a perfect candidate because you're never going to have perfect people. And I wouldn't even say, you have to choose the lesser between two evils. I don't think that she is an evil. I think that she is a big positive. I think that Oz is an evil. Okay. So and yes, the whole Roe v. Wade thing, it is a states' rights thing. If/when they repeal it, then abortion goes back to the states. It doesn't automatically make abortion illegal across the land. Although there are some states that I believe have trigger laws, so it will become outlawed there. But it is something that should be left to the states, because you have states that are more red states that want this banned, and then you let them do that. And then we come closer and closer and closer to protecting life. Eventually, though, we will be able to get rid of abortion completely, especially once we get into the realm and the time when we have things like artificial wombs. Because right now, I think a lot of people feel that there should be restrictions after viability, but with science, viability is only becoming earlier and earlier and earlier and earlier. So we will get to that point where, even if it's an ectopic pregnancy, right now we don't have any choice but to end the life of the baby, because you can't have a pregnancy on a fallopian tube. That can kill the mom. But imagine being able to remove that pregnancy and put it in an artificial womb. I mean, that would be such an incredible advancement. And it's coming, provided that we don't, all blow ourselves up in a nuclear war. And then once we get to that point where we have artificial wombs, people will look, and there is no longer any kind of reason, and you can't get to destroy a human life. And you can't make that argument, what about the rape and the mom's body and all this and that. You can't say that anymore, because now you can put a new little life into a womb. They're going to look back at us. They're going to look back at this time today, and they are going to look at the people who were pro-choice. They're going to look at them just like we look at the Mayans and the Aztecs and them. Wow, can you believe that a long time ago people used to cut people's hearts out on altars and they had the blood pouring down the stairs? Can you believe people were that savage? Or like, how would they look at the gladiators? Oh my gosh, can you believe that people put people and slaves into pits and then released lions on them and had them fighting each other to the death? Can you believe that people used to do that? And they're like, do you remember 2022 when they used to kill babies all the time, and they thought it was fantastic and wonderful, and then they sold their little baby parts and used them in experiments? You remember that? Oh my gosh. So yeah, they were so crazy back then. And I'm going to be one of the people who's on the right side of history, and at least then they'll be able to say, hey, there were people who were against this, who said that human beings are human beings at all stages. Sipa says you will research more. I opened your eyes. Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. Well, I hope you come back and stick around. I hope you're subscribed if you're not subscribed. So yes, I am going to wrap this chat up now, or wrap this live stream up now with this quote from Kathy Barnette. It says, MAGA does not belong to President Trump. Our values never shifted to President Trump's values. It was President Trump who shifted and aligned with our values. I think that's an excellent quote. And just remember, President Trump is a man. He's a person. He makes mistakes sometimes. Sometimes he won't always get the right candidate. I think usually he does. But yeah, the MAGA movement is bigger than just one man. It's important to go with the best MAGA candidate, perhaps not the best candidate that Trump chose. All right, folks. Thank you for joining me, and I will see you again soon.